So then at that point, Danny Way calls me and he's like, "Hey, I just built this." I go, "Oh, I talked to him earlier in the year, and he was saying that, hey, I want to build this ramp so big and go so big on it that nobody ever wants to step to it again." And I was like, "All right, yeah." I was like, "Well," he's like, and he was just kind of like, "Well, I just wanted to kind of pick your brain to see how to design it and what if you had any suggestions." And I learned with the big ramp, my first, you can't. I mean, we all learned BMX through trial and error, but when you ride those big ramps, you that it might be your last year. So I figured math was my crash test dummy. So I just like learned some physics and I talked to some physics majors and I just was like, okay, this is the energy I want. This is what I want to do. How do I like what's my G's? What's I need to really figure out the flow and if my body can sustain this. And so I just told Danny, I was like, find a mathematician and some physics major and just discuss the energy you need to create to achieve your dream. And so he did, and he came up with this elliptical tranny that was 30 feet tall and that aired into a 40-foot deep like step down tranny. And then he built this big extension that was 8 feet above the vert that was kicked back 8 inches because he kind of had a phobia of casing because he had done that a few times and broke his ankles um and so but the elliptical tranny, whenever you ride vert ramps, it gets really you got that rhythm to where you got high G's in the center, but you're really light and fingertippy at the top. And especially with big ramps, it's like really like you do this and you're flying to the flat bottom. And with a skateboard, you want to like pop your tail off the top and get a little bit of an ollie to keep the board on your feet. And Danny couldn't really do that because it would just throw him to the flat bottom. So what this making it elliptical did was it kind of equated your G's going up, and it kind of felt like just a tone to where it wasn't really a rhythm. It took the rhythm out of the ramp. It was like just a compression you start feeling, and then the ramp starts coming at you when you start getting lighter. So it keeps that compression about the same, and then you try to neutralize it off the top and give it a little pop. Um, and so I mean it was interesting because it was a little bit. I liked it because you couldn't really, whenever you miss the rhythm and you're dead sailoring, you're just like it's a long crash whenever you're on a big ramp.